into the emergency preparedness part of the night, and we're going to do what we call the elevator pitch from each of our 7 stations. So why don't we start with you, Robert? This is Robert Sproul coming up here to talk about communications. And so each of them is only going to be 2 to 3 minutes. And then after we get through all of them, then we're going to mill about and find out what we want to know from everybody.
Robert Sproul. I'm with the Eugene Income Group. What Eugene Income does is we're kind of a go-between for hams, emergency. We would become available to help emergency services, emergency management. If the cell towers go down, we're basically the next line of defense for communication. And I gave this packet of stuff to most everybody. If you don't have it, I have some extras at the table. So this is kind of a basic flow chart. I call it the ham sandwich. So in the middle is the hams. The lower layer is actually what we call field teams, which are consisting of damage assessment teams for emergencies. Basically, they'll survey the neighborhoods. They'll play a radio like this. These radios are not licensed. These are called FRS radios. So for $50, you can get 2 of them. So our biggest problem is actually at the lower level, where we need field teams. I have a sign-up sheet over here. If you're interested in volunteering. Actually, Santa Clara has a big need for emergency radio teams.
Will you provide us with training if we get a bunch of people signed up?
So we pretty much have quarterly training. It's actually over in the Northeast District, and anybody can come, and we send out. If you sign up, they can put you on the list, and you can come attend the training. So we'll do exercises in the training. Usually it's about a 3-day event, so that you can get a real feel of what the requirements are, how to do it, and then usually an exercise on the 3rd day where you're actually working with the radios. So also, and there's damage assessment teams. There's a description on that. We are in the Northwest District, which includes Santa Clara, River Road, Bethel, and then Train Song and the industrial corridor. So anyway, we can train you. If you go to the eugenemcom.com, there's a lot of material out there. You just want to peruse that, and you can learn on your own. If you have questions, I'll have a sign-up sheet and more documentation. When I learn about GMR's radios, I also have a document for that.
Thank you. Perfect. We need Hartsfield to tell us about sanitation.
Yes, hello, who wants to talk about sewage? That's more enthusiasm than I thought I would get. Usually people don't want to talk about sewage. It's something you have to talk about when something goes wrong. And so in emergency preparedness, we want to think about what we can do so that when things go wrong, we don't have to deal with sewage in a way that we don't really want to have to deal with sewage. So on my table, I have some resources back there from the state, Oregon State's Be 2 Weeks Ready program. How many of you have heard that program? Oregon State's Be 2 Weeks Ready? Okay, it's a great program. I know some other tables here have information on it too. It's a free program. You can go onto Oregon State's website and you can download the whole kit. What I printed off was their section on building your own sanitation kit. I have an example of a kit back there of what it could look like. It's the 2-bucket system. Do any of you have 2 buckets, 2 5-gallon buckets at home dedicated to sewage use for an emergency? Excellent. You're already ahead of the game. And so I'd be happy to talk to you about what the 2-bucket system looks like. It's a really important thing to think through. If we have a long power outage, more than a few days, the Cascadia earthquake happens. If we have the 500-year flood, something that causes large damage, your toilet that you usually rely on might not be available to you to use. It's really important if your pump station, your neighborhood pump station is down, it's not pulling sewage away from your home. And if you're putting things down your drain, it will slowly back up into the lowest home on the block. And you don't want to do that to your neighbors, right? So you need to be prepared if you can't have your sewage get pulled away from you because of a power outage or big damage. What are you gonna do? You're gonna line some buckets with some garbage bags. You're gonna bag it up. You're gonna store it somewhere. All right, those are difficult things to figure out. So I'd be happy to chat with you more about that. I'm happy to provide handouts. And I look forward to talking with you more about how to handle sewage.
Thank you. Oh, Amberly. Amberly.
My name is Amberly, and that's Taylor at the back table, my cohort. We work at Full Access. It's a nonprofit. We work with adults with IDD in Lane County. So these are adults over the age of 18 who might live independently in their own home or perhaps with family. Since we are a field that loves an acronym, IDD stands for Intellectual or Developmental Disabilities. This includes lifelong chronic diagnoses that could include autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. And as case managers, we work with the client and their family or their teams to come up with a plan so that people can live their best lives. So case management, in case you're not familiar, it's kind of a hodgepodge. It's a little bit of everything, but we're essentially responsible for helping our clients to get the services that they need. We work at what is called a brokerage, and so we are brokering services. We are identifying resources. We're helping to coordinate those, or our clients get access to those, making referrals. We help our clients make informed decisions about the things that are important to them. Employment, living independently, going to the doctor. And then of course, why we're here tonight, making a plan, or sorry, not just being aware of emergencies and how that impacts lives, but also how to make a plan for that. So what we don't do at Full Access is we don't provide the training for that. What we do though is provide the education, supplies and products, again, access to resources and coordination, and empowering people to be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to emergencies or just scary situations. If you come back to our table, there's a lot of different tools, just a small sampling of some of the things that we provide education around. It is unknown just how many adults with IDD live in our community. I don't know the statistic, and I'm not even sure if there is an accurate statistic, but it's very likely that you know somebody with a disability or is impacted, either maybe you have a family member, maybe a neighbor, just somebody that you interact with in the community. So while we encourage, our clients to be proactive about their lives, we also, part of what we're doing is, we want to educate the public and community about the folks that we serve, because we do serve a vulnerable population. Some of those folks have communication barriers, maybe difficulty hearing, have limited mobility, perhaps, for example, somebody who has autism might shut down in the face of an emergency and not know how to express themselves, not know how to ask for help, and so we want people to know that we understand, we know, and we have tools and things available so that you can be a good neighbor and just be aware of some of the more vulnerable faces in our community. We want to prevent isolation. We don't want our folks, one of the things that they are at risk for is isolation, neighbors not knowing who they are, neighbors not knowing what their needs are, and just loneliness. So we want people to be aware of and ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So I've already kind of referenced the back of our booth, or sorry, our table. One of the things that we brought is a Go kit that is designed specifically for folks with disabilities, specifically sensory issues. So it's good to just have like a visual of some of the things that might be good to have in a go bag. Like if you have a family member, or just, you know, you're concerned, or a concerned community member, there's like earplugs, or sorry, ear muffles, like if somebody is really sensitive to sound. There's snacks, fidget toys. One of the things that I really like in that pack is that they're laminated communication cards, so that you can, if somebody has difficulty expressing themselves verbally, they can point to a picture that says whether they're thirsty or what body part hurts, or if they, you know, if they're too hot. And yeah, it's really helpful stuff to have. There's communication cards for folks that maybe, like I said, difficulty hearing. Don't hear, don't verbally express themselves, but their cognition is fine. They can hear you, they just can't verbally express themselves. So yeah, please come and say hi. We're happy to answer questions, or point you in the right direction if we can't answer them. So thank you.
Great. Correa is here to talk about the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT program.
Howdy, folks. As you just said, I'm a person with Community Emergency Response Teams. I've been in that organization since 2008. I'm also a trainer for people who take the class. What I'm here primarily to talk about is evacuations for two particular occasions, one for wildfire and the other one for the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. Those are two different kinds of evacuations that may be necessary. As you know, we're getting into a wildfire season early. Wildfires can travel very quickly. They can travel like 100 yards a minute, which is about 17 and a half minutes a mile. It's hard to outrun a wildfire. If you're trying to outrun them or outwalk them, it's not likely you'll succeed. Wildfires create their own weather. That hot air rising will suck air in from the sides, and that will help fuel the fire and help move it. If you hear a warning that there's a wildfire in the area, please pay attention. Turn on your radio and leave it on. Keep track of what's happening. If you get the second warning saying the wildfire is coming in your direction, be prepared to evacuate. Take that as a word to evacuate. Don't wait for the third warning, where they say evacuate now, because by then it may be too late. I saw what happened out on the coast when we had the big fire out here towards Blue River that was coming towards Eugene and Springfield, and there was wildfire out there just north of Lincoln City. They had to evacuate the small community there, and I was traveling through the area, and the cars were bumper to bumper going south, evacuating the area, and that means they were traveling slow. You don't want fires to catch up to you. You want to be ready, and to be ready, you should have a go bag. Have a demonstration go bag here on the back table showing some of the stuff that you might need or want to have with you if you have to evacuate. You may have seen things on TV about wildfires that have happened in other areas where the fires came in and just wiped out the city entirely. That might happen to you. So you might need some supplies to tide you over for a while until you can come back or make other arrangements. Now, the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, that's an entirely different story. When that happens, and they're saying it is going to happen, it's happened in the past many times, that can cause real devastation. And one of the important things about that is that the city says that when that subduction zone earthquake happens, that it will probably knock out the water treatment plant, which means that there will be no fresh water for a year to a year and a half. There will also be no flush toilets for that same period of time. There will be no hospitals because coincidentally, no, not coincidentally, hospitals cannot operate without fresh water and without some way to get rid of human waste. So there'll be no hospitals. And part of the problem, like lady was saying about having bucket toilets, I forgot to bring mine to demonstrate to you. But you can get, with a 5-gallon bucket, you can get a lid that's designed to fit on that bucket, and it's got the seat and it's got the cover and everything. So those could be a very important thing to have, because when if you don't have a sewer system, some people are probably going to use their toilets anyway. They'll get water wherever they can and pour it in the tank, and they'll flush their waste out. And that waste will only go as far as the first break in the sewer system. And then it'll leak out. And if enough people are doing that, then it's going to percolate up to the surface, and our streets will become open sewers. Plus, there may be a lot of damage from collapsed buildings. There may be rotting bodies in the debris, and all of this will combine to create a real problem with pathogens. If you're in a situation where you don't have any fresh water and you're having to travel in an environment that's got contamination from these pathogens, it's quite possible that you'll get cholera. And cholera epidemic is a very serious situation. The mortality rate for cholera is 60%. So, and what cholera is, you have unremitting diarrhea and vomiting, which means you can't even drink water and keep it down. So your body will be trying to flush out the system from your digestive tract. It'll be sucking the water out of your cells and your organs, and it can become severely dehydrated. You can die within 72 hours. So what will happen then is everybody will have to evacuate. All the major cities that are in the earthquake zones will have to be evacuated in their entirety, and that's going to be a difficult task, because there's 200,000 people here in the Eugene Springfield area, and the roads may be damaged. Maybe the airport will be working. How are all these people going to evacuate from this area in order to avoid being caught in an epidemic of cholera? That's why you also need to have evacuation supplies so that you can stay alive long enough for the government to figure out a way to evacuate you, or to open up the roads so that buses can come in and take people out. It's going to be a very serious situation. On top of the cholera epidemic, it's only one in a series of disasters that are going to occur after the earthquake. One of the first disasters afterwards is going to be fires. When the earthquake happened down in the San Francisco area, they had 40 fires. That was only a 7.0 that lasted 15 seconds. The subduction zone earthquake here is expected to be out at the coast. It's going to be like a 9.0 or more. The maps I've seen says that here it'll probably be between a 7 and a 7.5. Now 7.1 is 38 times more powerful than a 7.0. And a 7.2 is 38 times more powerful than a 7.1. So you can see that this could be a whole lot of damage, and it's going to probably cause a lot more fires. So that's another reason why you need to be ready to evacuate, because all these fires may grow, and you may have to evacuate from the fire even before having to worry about cholera. And so I'd like to suggest to you all that you pay attention to where there is water in your neighborhood. Swimming pools, hot tubs, koi ponds, any source of water where people can get buckets and get the water and throw it on a fire, try and put it out. If after the earthquake happens, if you see a fire close by, go there and try and help put that out, because you may be saving your own home when you do that, keeping it from spreading to yourself, to your own home. So if you have any more terrible information, I'll be back here at the back and give you more information about go back.
Thank you. It's very impressive go bags. One for the car, one for the home. It's really instructive to see what he's got going on. Scott Sorensen to talk about food.
Hello, my name is Scott Sorensen. I'm an emergency preparedness merit badge counselor with Boy Scouts. I've been doing that for many years, local resident here. Here to talk about food safety and food preparedness and emergency. There's a lot of stuff to think about there. You really need to ask yourself, what emergencies am I preparing for? Am I going to prepare for no power for a couple days, for a big storm, or for a big earthquake? Those are different emergencies. Also be thinking about what you're going to do those first few hours of your emergency, because food, a lot of our food in our houses is perishable. So you need to have a plan on how to utilize the food that you currently have in your house. A lot of us have a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks of food in our house, but those food have different shelf life, if you will. So you need to have a basic plan for how to utilize that food. I got some information and some stuff back there to show you how to prepare food without electricity during emergencies to help you with this. One of the main things you need to keep in mind about food and emergencies is food safety. We think about what we're going to eat and what we're going to drink and all this kind of stuff, but food safety is really critical. If you don't prepare food the right way, or you eat food that's been out too long or has been over a certain temperature in the refrigerator, so to speak, you can make that emergency far worse for yourself. Think of having to go to a hospital or something like that because you got something from the food you ate. So safety is probably the number one concern when you're talking about preparedness, emergency preparedness for food. So I invite you to come back and talk to me. I got some printouts and some information for you, and look forward to talking to you.
Come back from Jefferson Westside to talk about power.
Hello, here in Neighborhood Solidarity.
Yes.
Anybody here have a power outage lasting for more than 24 hours in their experience? 48 hours? Longer?
6 days.
6 days? So that quickly, it starts being annoying, and then it just gets worse from there, right? The nice thing about the situation we have now is that there are a lot of solutions for providing backup power that don't necessarily involve having to wrestle with the generator or deal with fuels or things like that. They cut a lot of the subsidies for sustainable energy, but one of the subsidies the feds kept was for batteries. So battery power backup has a 30% federal tax credit, which is a lot if it's over 1,000 watts. There's a lot of different things you can do as far as the most minimal thing, which is you can get this little backup power source. Does anybody have one that's about the size of a cell phone? And there, great. If you don't have one, you should have like 3. Yes, because you can charge up your phone probably 3 or 4 times with that. They're like $20 now. Really, when it comes to backup power, it's a matter of how you're calculating your tolerance for risk, your tolerance for cost, and then looking at the consequences of not having electricity. You can pick up, I've got like the small little backup power that I just talked about, and then something is more middle range, which is in the 1,000 to 2,000 watt range, and then I have the big one, which is each one of the batteries that goes into stuff like that is 3,000 kilowatts. So you can run, even with the small one, is enough to keep your food cold, refrigerator and your freezer running for a reasonable amount of time, keep your lights on, be able to charge your devices. I think, well, I'm going to say affordable. Even the big solutions are a lot more affordable than they used to be. When I originally looked at backup power, I've got a solar system on my house. It was as much as a solar system. It's tens of thousands of dollars. Now you can pick up 3,000 to 6,000 watts of backup power. When you calculate your federal tax credit, it's under $5,000 to do that. I've got a generator plug where I can run my whole house, and I can hook it up to the solar. You can have the portable solar panels. A 400-watt solar panel is a couple $100, $400, and so you can really have a solution that can provide power for you in the event of an emergency. Also, it really comes down to what you're willing to do. Now, one thing that is coming online now, it's a lot more, it's expensive broadly, but comparatively cheaper, is an EV. A lot of the EVs that you can get now have bi-directional charging, which means they can run your house, right? And you just need to check on that. Now, these also have almost no maintenance costs. I have a 2001 Model Y. It's never seen a mechanic. I change the tires, I put new wipers on it, and an air filter, and that's it. So the costs are pretty low. If you can get bi-directional charging, the batteries in an EV are massive. So they're bigger. If you were to take a standard basic EV and try to put that backup power into your house, it would cost you more than the EV would cost, probably twice as much. Not to mention, you know, there's all the permits and everything else. The nice thing about the backup, like my backup battery or using the EV, is that you don't need any permits. You can put a plug in. All you need is whatever the permit is for altering your junction box in your house. And so that is something that if you're not liking $4 to $5 a gallon gasoline and some other issues, that it can be a twofer, and that you can actually build a lot of resilience into your own life, save money, and really be prepared for the big one or the small one or a medium one to come down the pipe. So I'm right over there. The interesting thing is that I now get invited because I'm the expert. And what I discovered as an activist, that if you're in a room and you know more about a topic than anybody else in the room, you're an expert. So I'm the actual expert on backup battery power. So come over and talk to me.
Also, was a note I found out about 7 years ago that if you have an electric wheelchair that you need to have electricity for so you can keep breathing, you can use a Prius if you have an adapter to charge your chair.
Thanks.
So having the hybrid can be those kind of purposes.
That's great news. Jenny Damaris, eWeb about water. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting eWeb to be with you here tonight. First of all, I just want to let you know a little bit about my background. I am a long-term emergency manager, and so I have a connection with most everything that has been said here tonight. I'm an amateur radio operator. The gentleman talked about wildfire response. I was actually the county emergency manager in Lincoln when we had the fire in 2020, and we did evacuate pretty much the entire city of Lincoln City, which it did take 6 hours to go from Lincoln City to Newport, because that's what happens when you move 12,000 people and you only have one route out. So, but I'm here tonight to talk on behalf of water preparedness. So eWeb, obviously, we make your water here in Eugene, and we have one single source, which has been mentioned about a Cascadia response. We do have an initiative out there to have a second source put on place in the Willamette, which would help us augment those needs if we were to have an issue out our Hayden Bridge. But what can you do at home for your preparedness? If you have heard information about our emergency water systems, we have 7 independent wells here in the city of Eugene. And yes, to the community member that said there isn't one in the north part of Eugene, you are correct. So we have 7 of those independent wells that we are able to bring online at any time with minimal staffing from eWeb and our community emergency response team members from the city of Eugene to support us in those efforts. So you're able to get 2 gallons of water per person per day at those emergency water stations. For those areas where we don't have a permanent well, we have mobile trucks and mobile trailers that we would be able to fill those containers up at our water stations and then bring them to the other locations. We're working on mutual aid agreements with other facilities such as a church or school, where we would then have a permanent location that those neighborhoods would know where they can go to get that same amount of water that they would be able to get at one of those emergency water stations. So that's about emergency water stations. But what can you do at home? As we heard about the Be 2 Weeks Ready program, eWeb has a sister program, which is called Pledge to Prepare. Is anybody doing the Pledge to Prepare program? Ooh, okay, a couple of you. I brought a sign-up sheet. So what we do is we really work in conjunction with the Be 2 Weeks Ready program, but we break it down into bite-sized parts and pieces and tasks that you can do a little bit each month. So if you're interested, I have information on that. You can sign up.
And then you'll get an email reminder about the activities and things that you can do each month, with the hopes at the end of 12 months, you would be 2 weeks ready. So part of that be 2 weeks ready is to have enough water on hand for you, your family members, and your pets, having that water already stored at home. A couple of ways that you can store that water is you can pre-purchase water, put it on a shelf, put it in a storage container. You can fill up your own containers at home, but you need to make sure that you're sanitizing those containers in advance and that you're rotating that water out probably at least once a year so you would have fresh water. I have brought some handouts. Actually, I stopped by your local American Red Cross. I also stopped by County Emergency Management and got some information for you. But what I printed off for you here tonight is from the Centers for Disease Control about how you can sanitize or purify water. So if you are getting water from an alternate source, or if you have water that's been sitting on the shelf for a really long time, we talked to some people at the last event. They're like, well, I've had water for 2 years. Probably fine, might need to drop a couple drops of bleach in there or boil it for a minute and it probably would be fine. So this is a great handout. And then the handout that goes with that is from the CDC, make water safe during an emergency. So these would be good. You put them in a Ziploc bag in your cash kit at home so that when you're like, what did she say? How much bleach? How did we do that? Then you have those instructions that you can pull out. Also, that Pledge to Prepare program, we have that 12-month checklist, which talks a lot about the different things for communication, alternate fuel supplies. I also heard about an emergency generator power. eWeb has a backup power program where they can do small base loans for households that qualify, that you can get those emergency generators installed in your home. If you haven't heard, your county has Help OK program. I have signs here that I picked up for you because I don't think the county's here. But this is really to help notify, thinking about our community members, vulnerable populations that may not be able to articulate to public safety or neighbors that they need help. So that's what that's for. I heard about wildfire and when do we evacuate. I picked up your level 1, 2, and 3s with all the instructions about how to be able to evacuate. Keep that handy if you get a call. I heard about Cascadia. I brought you the Living on Shaky Grounds. When we think about Cascadia for our area in the Pacific Northwest, this is really sort of the tell-all book of what to expect, how long it's going to be. The 2 weeks really came from, you need at least 2 weeks for local, state, and federal government to sort of ramp up their operations and mobilization to be able to bring things in by air, because our roads will be impacted, into our pre-hardened airports, which they have those now all across Oregon. But that's why the Be 2 weeks ready for Cascadia, you need to be as resilient and self-sustaining for that full 2 weeks. And then also from your local Red Cross, I picked up Prepare to Protect Your Loved Ones with an Emergency. They have a great emergency app. Also, they have, I just want to say, I've got pets. They've got a really great pet first aid app. So if your dog is choking, the cat is having issues, that app is really, really helpful. So I brought lots of things for you. Thank you for inviting us. And I would most assuredly love to talk to you more about water. There you go. Great.
Well, it's a feeding frenzy now, and take information from any table you want. We appreciate you all being here. And please remember to sign in or sign out, depending if you have it.